Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Live Market Analysis coming to you from Perth, WA, where I reside, work and play, and do some technical analysis from time to time for you lot. With much pleasure. Of course, I look forward to these every week. We're going to talk about the disclaimer, which says that everything we're going to discuss is general in nature, is not taken into account personal financial circumstances, objectives, or particular needs. So before acting upon any of this stuff, you should consider it carefully or seek the help of an investment professional to determine its appropriateness for you. Of course, trading and investing is risky. You could lose money. Always remember to manage your risks. Of course, that you are responsible for the stuff that you do, and not me. With that in mind, let us get to the nitty-gritty of today, where you ask questions. I do my best to answer them. It could be anything to do with the 3 M's of trading, so something about the methodology, money management, and mindset of trading, or it could be about any stock, indice, commodity, index, bond, or crypto that you're interested in. I'll give you my best technical reader. Let us head over to the AMI broker screen. First up, where we're not going to talk about the Global X Copper Miners ETF, although, hey, it's a really nice chart, and it is one of the feature trends that I'll be putting in the ASX Chart Watch scans for tomorrow on the Market Index website, which most of you know that I contribute to. Where I did want to go was over here to my macro watch list, and start off with the Nasdaq Composite. In fact, we're going to go here where I've got all my scratchings, do a little bit of a zoom in, and quickly do our portfolio management model. So this is where we decide how much overall risk we can take for a particular market. Let's say you had 100 grand, and 30 grand of that was invested in the USA. Well, for that 30 grand, this determines how much you can invest. It doesn't talk about individual trading positions. We do a separate technical analysis for that, but it tells you how many of those positions can add up to that 30 grand. And we are full risk positions. So FRP stands for full risk positions, which means you can invest all 30 grand. That might come down by a third, in which case you would only be allowed to invest 20 grand. Why might that happen? Well, something is very wrong with the market, and therefore we'd rather have a higher weighting of cash. Pretty simple. It could come down to a half, it could go down to a third. Generally, it doesn't go below a third unless something was really, really wrong with the world. We're at full risk position, to reiterate, because we're at double green, so short-term uptrend, long-term uptrend. The price action is still pretty good, although I am noting that whilst we have rising troughs, 20906 is higher than 20560. We do have a first lower peak here. That's the peak there, got the blue line on it, and that was 21743 versus 21805. It's pretty minor at this stage. Could turn out to be something, that last black candle and lower peak, or it could turn out to be nothing, probably nothing. But I do note, look, there's a little bit of a sideways consolidation. If anything, it's one of those classic old-fashioned technical analysis triangles. Okay, so a bit more of an equilibrium phase than the preceding strong short-term uptrend prior to that. Candles, I would say, are still predominantly white, and they're sort of the finest detail that I go to. So I'm not too stressed out about that. However, as I said in tonight's evening wrap, TA update for the Nasdaq, we're always watching for signs that things could get worse. Heading over to Australia, and not surprisingly, it's largely a very similar situation here. We do have a lower peak, although it's slightly more pronounced. 8991 versus 9055, and what we have here that we actually don't have on the Nasdaq is a pretty clear-cut supply signal. I know, looking down at the bottom there, the bottom blue bars, not huge volume, slightly above average, but hardly what you'd call a blow-off. I'd be far more concerned if I saw a huge volatility spike on a huge volume spike. That's not it, but nonetheless, I have labelled this, that shadow, that candle, that just frustrates me more than anything else about the Aussie market, because it was looking pretty gangbusters before that. But worst case scenario here is more of a sideways equilibrium, a gradual sideways, if anything, and we're still above the short-term uptrend ribbon in both cases here and the Nasdaq until we close beneath that light green ribbon. I'm really not too stressed about proceeding, so happy to go FRP there. If you feel a different way, if you feel a little bit more cautious based upon what you see, that's cool too. I mean, beauty or lack thereof is in the eye of the beholder, and you would, I think at most you're probably just looking to maybe refrain from adding new risk. That would be a start, or just being a little bit more, or scrutinise more harshly your existing risk. and say, okay, well, this one I might have let it go in a really clean set of technicals on the index. Now I'm just going to just cull that one because it's just sort of biding time or wasting time. Or you might want to pick up copper shorts, and there are a few decent shorts out there. We might get to those later on this evening. But in summary, FRP across both markets. Going to now try and find a reason not to be that way by doing our whip around the grounds. We will look at some of the other markets and see if there are any confirming signs or signs that make us want to reduce risk. It's not the case here on the Russell 2000. Pretty happy about that. We were all pretty excited about it last week because I think the candle we had to look at was this big white candle here. That one can't appear. That one there, and we all thumbs up emojied it, didn't we? And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rather benign sessions, really at odds with what we're seeing on the Nasdaq. So I think that's confirming our FRP at this stage. I don't normally do it, but let's do it anyway. The benchmark 500 stocks. Look, if anything, looks better than the Nasdaq. Because it took out its previous high, so that's still rising peaks and rising troughs. Again, no reason to panic for me there. Let's look at the VIX. We don't often look at this. Again, extremely benign. Not worried about that. Let's head to Europe. Not a great chart, but not enough to push us off. Same with that one. Not a great chart. I mean, as in it's starting to roll a little bit. Nothing. There's nothing here that is telling us that there are signs that we're not still in this synchronous risk-taking sort of feeling around the world. That looks very good. Nice pop today on the Hang Seng. Nikkei's fine. India, no big deal. Shanghai still looks very, very strong. Hopefully any of those ETFs you might be holding on that are going quite well. And then let's have a quick look at the ASX indices while we're here. So nothing to push me off our current risk settings. Discretionary, decent candle on that one. Probably some dividends starting to come into play here. Energy's fine. Financials I still think is fine. Gold is beyond fine, isn't it? I mean, that is a rocket emoji chart right there. We'll no doubt have plenty to say about the gold sector and the gold stocks today. The healthcare sector is clearly the one you don't want to be in, and that's very much CSL related. Some issues here for information technology. I note Zero coming off today, and that's one I picked very, very early as a potential short setup. So if that's the one you're using to give you cover right now, I think you're pretty happy. WiseTech came up on the list today as well. So that's interesting in itself because obviously that's been one of the star performers, and we're seeing maybe materials / resources starting to pick up some of these tailwinds from some of these other star performers. Property still okay. Staples is all over the show. I don't even want to look at that chart. It makes me angry. And telecommunications, they're still fine. Utilities still fine. There's really only one obvious red flag. That's healthcare, and one that's starting to turn a bit red, and that's technology. Let's while we're here have a look at some of these base metals markets, and we always say at this juncture that they should be looking pretty strong if equities markets are to be strong. We want global growth, and if we are getting that, then base metals tend to strengthen. Aluminium looks okay. Look, it's middling. Copper's actually turning up. I think that looks interesting. And if you check out, well, it's been in there for a few sessions now, hasn't it? The wire. WIRE. That's why it was on at the very start of this presentation, and that's a reflection there of potentially copper starting to move a little bit higher. This is LME, of course, London Metals Exchange. Nickel, not great, but hey, it's turning up. Didn't have a bad week. Lead neither here nor there. A tin actually looking very interesting, and zinc on the better side of neither here nor there. Let's have a quick look at lithium carbonate because it is here and ready to go. And we'll go back to the candlestick chart there. Not great, unfortunately, for lithium fans. I know stocks have continued to do well, but it's that's at odds with the picture that's developing here, which really is back to supply side control in that very short term. We have lower peaks and lower troughs. We've got a clear-cut predominance of supply side candles since that peak. And we've closed today. We've closed beneath that short-term trend ribbon. The short-term trend ribbon has neutralised. Obviously, the long-term trend was always neutral anyway, but we're probably halfway back into that long-term trend ribbon and looking a little bit in trouble there, can I say. I'm not sure where the volume's gone on that. That's a bit weird. There should be some volume there, but I don't know. Put it down to a technical glitch on that one. Look, I don't think we need to look at the other ones, but that's concerning. Let's just say that. If we were to close back beneath the long-term uptrend ribbon, who's to say, another peak in that ribbon, and then we could very much well be back in the long-term downtrend there. So that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes, doesn't it? Let us head over to TradingView, and as you know, the drill here. We should be seeing something on screen. Don't worry, it will appear. There we go. And actually, the reason why that didn't work is I was trying to set up a new one before we started, and Haraji, I was using your suggestion of using the application, and it took me a while. I did manage to get that work. I didn't fully get it set up. So we will go back to this one, which is the Firefox. I actually pressed the wrong button there. And thank you for that suggestion. But Firefox seems to be working for now. I did make one change, and it seems to be on all the time, so that's good news. We're going to have a look at silver futures. Silver stocks becoming quite prominent in those daily scans, and for good reason. We're seeing a breakout to its highest level since 2012, give or take. November 2012 to be exact. There is a level up there. I want to say it's at 43.51 off the top of my head as a potential overhead point of supply. That goes back a similar amount of time. Otherwise, some very strong trends, some improving price action, and I think that was I think that was the candle there that I put it in the wrap, was it, or maybe it was that one as the signal there to go again. Can't see any reason why that can't continue to do its thing. Gold starting to look significantly better as well, so just pushing towards the top of that range. If you read one of those classic technical analysis books, they would tell you that breakouts from a range like that tend to occur in the direction that the price was travelling before that range, so that would imply up. And if you use a measured move, that's another classical technical analysis method. You might go from somewhere like 2,700 into 3,500, 800 points. You project that off roughly the bottom of that range. And we could be at $4,000 on gold. You never know. But I don't like to predict. I don't like to prognosticate. That's not me. And I'm just going to say that the trend is improving, and I'm happy to stay on the long side of this. Well, not stay. I mean, my view on this, we haven't been staying on the long side, but I'm happy to move back to the long side based upon some of these indications. Let's have a look again at some of these other markets. Copper, that's US copper, which is very much beholden to those Trump tariffs. At least it's starting to pick up a little bit there. Iron ore still looks okay. A little bit of a wobble around that short-term uptrend ribbon. I just tweeted this chart for uranium, starting to pick up again, sneaking higher, I said. Looks okay. Natural gas, down, bouncing a little bit. Crude oil, pretty flat on both the West Texas crude oil, the US crude, and the European crude there, Brent. And then the coal prices, thermal coal, as we talked about last week, back in the doldrums, and coking coal doing slightly better, but still rolling off that long-term trend ribbon. Something we didn't do last week, which we really should have, was check out the bonds. Fortunately for me, nothing was really going on in those bonds, and that's still pretty much the case today. So that's a good thing. I'm happy about that. There's no major indications from the bond market here. Adonis is giving me the thumbs down. I'm not sure. Maybe he just doesn't like the chart. But if we're probably going to see lower rates ahead, not higher rates. That's assuming it's not happening for all the wrong reasons, which is the US economy is going into the toilet. I don't think it is, because some of the more recent data is suggesting that it's at least holding its own. I know some of the employment data has been weak, but last batch of PMIs were slightly stronger. So, corporate earnings holding up pretty well. I don't think there's anything in here that's really, really sinister. And I will get up in these sessions and I'll point it out. I'll draw a buy and sell all over the chart, and I say, hey, everybody, you need to know about this right now, and this is a big deal. And to be fair, I think every time I've said that, it turned out to be a really big deal. And the good news is here, I think that's a really benign looking chart for bonds. And when we overlay that against some of those macro economics, I think it's pretty benign. Sure, they're heading down, but it's just we're in an easing cycle at the Fed. So I think that's pretty normal. Edging down is fine. We don't want to see it plummet, because if it plummets, then you know what, will be hitting the fan in the stock market, because it'll mean the US economy is in big trouble. We also don't want to see it suddenly shoot through the roof, because we don't like higher rates, and it would also indicate that we've got some confidence issues in US debt again, and we're not seeing any of that. So I think we're pretty happy here. Again, we're looking for. It's an interesting to see that the 30s haven't gone down at all. That's interesting, but all in all quite benign. Looking at the Aussie experience here, again, flat is beautiful here for stocks. That's still flat, isn't it? I was going to say a little bit upward tweak there, but still roughly flat. Okay, that's the whip around the grounds. Hopefully that helps you put into perspective, I guess, what's going on in the world and how that relates back to your risk levels at this point in time. Let us get to the offline requests. So we're going to head over to Amy Brook here. So these are people who can't be with us live in session tonight, and they have emailed me prior to preferably 6 p.m. Perth time their requests. Thank you for everybody who did so. And we're going to go Zoom normal here. Click on that all so I can access all the securities in the list, and we're going to start with Mick, who's got ABB, which is not that one, it's that one, which I think still looks pretty good. And he said something very interesting, starting to have the feeling of death of 1,000 cuts with all of these. And I'm trying to find the death of 1,000 cuts in this one, because I think that's pretty good, isn't it, Mick? I mean, I know it's had a few down sessions since it popped about, 10% or 15% in a day. And I know it's pulled back a few percent, but I still think you'd be pretty happy with that one. Last time we looked at it, clearly we were FRP, and rightfully so. I mean, a little bit of a push down here, but never got even close to closing beneath the light green ribbon, so that's okay. Happy holder. These 4 candles, maybe if they occurred anywhere else, I'd be more concerned. Personally, I'm not concerned. Personally, for me, this is nothing but FRP. Obviously not getting in right now based upon those last 4 supply side candles. I think they're very modest compared to the huge rally, and fairly typical. If you've traded many of these types of scenarios, and you know how much I like to look for buying opportunities after these big pops up, whereas a lot of value investors would be, oh, well, that's too expensive, I have to sell. I mean, I know that that's caused by good news that has fundamentally changed the outlook for the company's earnings, and the smart money is buying like crazy. How do I know? We'll look at the chart. So I'm really only looking now for new buying opportunities. So I'm plus 1/3 on the next demand side candle, white body, a downward pointing shadow, and you might get that little pullback and a little white body. And then that's your little dink is complete, and off it goes again. That's my view. If you're getting a bit bored, these can take a while. They can, because it's had that big gain. I say the market needs to digest that gain. This idea that it's 12-15% more expensive all of a sudden, that's too much for some small people's brains to understand. Is that just they freak out? They go, oh, this has to be expensive, and therefore I have to sell. And a few people will no doubt think like that, and you get a bit of supply, don't you? I mean, think about that. You get a few people think like that, and you get a bit of supply. I think that's exactly what we're seeing. We're seeing a few people think like that, and their actions causing a bit of supply, but it's still holding up there. And that's telling you that the rest of the market is still very much on the demand side. And I want to think like them, not like the small-minded people. A happy holder, but if you're getting bored, it will take some time to digest that supply. Then it's gone, and then all you've got is the demand that we know is in the system, and that's when we tend to get those signals and go. We've seen it so many times. Let's go to TNE, which now this is a death of 1,000 cuts, isn't it? I haven't looked at Technology One for so long; it hasn't come up in my scans after coming up quite regularly. You can see why it was coming up regularly. You can see why it hasn't come up for so long. And I'm so glad I'm looking at this chart today, not from the perspective that I want to trade it, because I don't want to trade it, but it's just to reinforce for me that my model's working. My scan that I run every night is not showing me this. I don't have to flick past this chart and waste my time looking at it. And I agree with you, Mick. This is a waste of time. I don't know what's going to happen next. It could be up. Hey, it has a pedigree of being a great stock. It could be $50 next week or next month. I don't know. But right now, all I can see is a trend follower's equilibrium. I can see a lot of traders that think it's still cheap, a lot of traders that think it's expensive. They're trading with each other, they're churning, and we're getting nowhere in the price. There's no party so motivated that they're prepared to bid up or offer down the price so much with so much quantity that it's overwhelming the other side of the market, and we're just getting churn. I would argue, though, Mick, that you should have been out of this already. I mean, if we turn this into a case study, and we've got some stuff here, it could have been you that asked about it all this time ago, perhaps. Let's just try and pick up some of the logic here. FRP, I don't know, what's this FRP here on this candle? And yeah, I think what I would have said on that day, and maybe you remember if I said it or not, is that candle in itself is not great. But given the incredible nature of that overall trend is not enough in and of itself to warrant managing risk. Now, famous last words, because to be fair, that was the candle, wasn't it? And you right now, ladies and gentlemen, you should feel really good about knowing what that candle means. Because 6 months ago, a year ago, 4 years ago, before you met me, that candle would have gone past you. You never would have known it, right? You never would have known its potential to cause that. But you know that now. And I think that's a very special thing. So hindsight's a wonderful thing, of course, but I stand by that call that isn't in and of itself enough to go against what we were seeing before that, which is a really strong trend. Where is it? Where does that point come? And we did do some scratchings on this. And I think, did we say that one, or that one? That one or that one? See, I don't think that's enough either. But that one I'm starting to get a bit nervous. So it's this one here. I'm just trying to wobble it so we get to the end. This one, yeah, you can see the mouse. That one there. So can we all agree that, okay, these aren't great, but this is the kind of the frightening one. That little one with the upward pointing shadow, little in that the momentum of buying into that day. See this candle here. My goal is to get you to read these like a book, like you any book or magazine or anything you read on your phone. You should be able to read this the same way. So this is the interesting candle too, and we have this obviously some supply is coming in. We've got motivated. We talked about the motivation of supply, offering lower prices, and then how does that impact into the demand side? Is the demand side saying, no, I don't care, give me everything you got? Well, you're not going to get that black candle, are you? So demand side is backing away a little bit. We can tell from volume sort of how the magnitude of their interactions, above average. So something is going on. Hey, we should be watching. Like I said, I don't think enough to do anything, but we're alert. We're attentive for signs of potential trend change. And then we kind of get this day here, again, above average volume. I know it's a small range, but the lower shadow says, you know what, the demand side came back in on that day. They didn't have much of an influence, though, did they? Despite there was quite a few of them around. I know there's a few of them around because we're above average volume. Then we get this day, and there's just this, we should have got more. Is it fair to say from this day to this day, we should have got more? And boy, did we get so much less. So for me, that's the key day. That's the interesting day out of all those candles, because it's confirming what's happening here. And it's also for me confirming that, well, where'd the demand side go? Like all of this demand. And there's one conclusion you can draw from that, and the lack of volume on that day. They are, what's the next word? 2 words. First word's F, and it's not a swear word. Second word is I. What is it? Type it in. They are FI. What are they? What are they? Look at the volume. No volume. All of this demand side control, all of this interaction, and then boom, we get this, and all of a sudden they're absent. They are, I'm not getting anything from you. Are you awake? Are you still there? Have I put you to sleep this early? That'd be a record for me on a Monday night. They are FULLY Somebody should be typing something. They are fully invested. I mean, question mark. But is that what we can conclude? Hey, it's a book. I guess it's like reading a book, but you still have to come to your own conclusion, right? They are full risk, yeah. I mean, that's another way to put it. They are FRP at that stage. So they're fully invested. Like, all of the demand is in the market. And if everybody's in, then who's left to buy? Oh, and at the same time, supply's picking up. I mean, I think we know that. That's a given, right? We can see supply's picking up. But we're also now, because the supply is one side of the equation, you can have supply picking up all you like. But if the demand side's still rock and roll and they've got unlimited cash to buy, that doesn't matter. We're going to go straight through that supply. So let's try and find signals in the candles to suggest, to build a bigger picture here, what the demand and the supply side are doing. I don't know. Let's have a look at the next one. Oh, well, there you go. Actually, that's not too bad. Much better than I was expecting. And I don't think I need to do anything. That's good news. I was worried. I don't need to do anything. Now I've got a lower peak. So this is starting to build, I think, a more complete picture for us. Before we didn't have the price action confirming. Now we've got price action confirming. We've got falling points of supply. Why do we have falling points of supply? Well, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Where's the demand gone? Where has the demand gone? This candle is similarly interesting to that candle because the upward pointing shadow. Okay, I think we need to do something now. Let's assume we've done nothing. What are we going to do? I don't want to put ideas into your head. I can't take that back though. But I don't like. I'll probably screw that up. But do we agree that we don't have to do anything tomorrow, but we should be setting some boundaries? Is that fair to say? Like, we should be saying, if I see a close beneath here, it's time to manage risk. And that's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get you to the point where if I'm not around, let's say tomorrow I get hit by a bus, you don't need to tune in on Mondays anymore. You know exactly what you're doing. You'll see candles like that and you go, okay, I know what I need to do. Look, if I see a close beneath there, 100%, I'm minus the third. That's starting off. Now, let me think about it. Would I need to do more than that at this stage? And again, don't forget that we don't want to see what's going on next, but I just wanted to show you a bit more of the trend. Don't forget we're still ultimately in a very strong trend, and I'm going to go with I'm comfortable with just a third at that stage. Okay, if I see the wrong candle, I might increase that, but for now we're of the mindset that we have a point of no return. We're not going to be that person who's got T&E and is telling ourselves that T&E is a quality company. It's the best in class, and I'm going to own T&E forever. That's not us, okay? Not trying to insinuate that that's anybody else in the world, mind you. But so that's still okay, isn't it? That is fine, and this is why we have our soft stops. Usul is laughing, because I think he knows who I'm talking about. We don't have to do anything, right? It tickled. We tuned in. 10 to 4 that day, and we go, nothing to do there. Let's see what happens the next day. Nothing to do there. Nothing to do there. Nothing to do there. Now, I'm getting close to the point where if this doesn't do something good, almost by sheer frustration, I might take some risk off the table just because there's other stuff that needs my risk. Okay? I think we need to move this now, and we have to be flexible with these things. And some people might say, never change your stop loss to a lower point. I say, well, put your stop loss at a point where if you're on the wrong side of that stop loss, you have eliminated a substantial amount of demand. Okay, it is a very different way of using stops or setting stops to what most quote unquote professional traders would do. I think we're fine. We're less fine. I'm almost going to now. I reckon now I'm going to do this, and this is just out of this is a sheer time. This is a time stop now, right? And it's a third. That's all we're doing. It's a third, but it's based upon time. Okay. Some of you might actually think maybe that deserves more than a third now. And there's no right or wrong answer, everybody. I keep telling you, this is not a black and white system. This is a common sense system. This is about putting your risk in the right place as often as you can system. Of all the people who have lost their fingers and forgotten to type, let me know what your opinion is there. Is it a 1/3 or is it a 2/3? Minus 2/3. Jackie's saying. I think I'm with you, Jackie. We've got the boredom factor. We've got I was going to say we've got lower peaks here, and we're still lower than this. I know we had a higher peak here, but these two peaks are still lower than the peak that matters. We've actually got a lower trough. We're on the verge of closing beneath the short-term uptrend ribbon, and we know that's a deal breaker in itself. So here we are on this day, we're tuning in 10 to 4, and if it's the next day, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. But we make this decision. We take that and we go, you know what? I'm going to go minus 2/3 here. And say la vie, TNE. I know you've been a great stock. I know I'm probably still doing very well out of it, but I just couldn't be bothered anymore. And we're pretty happy. We've still got a third. Look, when that day we're going, oh geez, here goes TNE again. Bloody hell. Oh, I knew I was jumping at shadows. Bloody hell. Worry wart. Shouldn't have done that. But I've still got a third, don't I? And if I see, a nice little dink higher, I can always add some risk. That's an interesting candle. I don't think any reason to do anything just yet, but a confirmation candle, another white one like that back up. Hey, I'm going to put some risk back on this one. Not bad, still pretty good. Not bad. I'd almost add some risk there. No. Oh well, no. And I think we're getting pretty close here. It's almost another time stop. It's not that bad, is it, Mick? I can see your death by 1,000 cuts here. It is really flat though, isn't it? I mean, it's really flat through here. I reckon that's it. I know I've skipped ahead there a little bit, but I didn't think that this exact case study was going to take so long. And I think we all agree by now, that candle there, we're all at zero risk position, if there were any doubts. What a case study, hey? What a case study. Let's just follow this through. Still fighting. That's interesting. I would have thought gone for all money there and then gets itself back above. Wowzers. And I think it still could go either way, isn't it? We talked about the start. This is just equilibrium, and that's what it is. And I think I'm happy to be zero risk position on that one, Mick. Okay, let's just catch some of these comments. Hayden saying, if I looked back and I got out on the second black candle, 4 candles from the top, I was very keen to... well, he's saying he did, I think. He did get out. He was very keen to keep his profits. I don't mind. At least he had a reason, isn't it? At least it wasn't just, oh, that's gone up a lot, I better take some profit. Michael saying, sure as hell, if I sell it goes up, if I hold it goes down. It might feel that way, Michael, but I assure you it is not by grand design of the markets in the universe. It is pure coincidence, and sometimes you just got to hold through it. You've just got to keep going. I like you calling switching out for a better opportunity. Yeah. Okay, let's. That took a little bit longer than I thought. Let's keep moving here to CAT. Hopefully, it doesn't require as much analysis. We have actually had some much more recent discussion on this. So we talked about potential for upper shadows in there. We actually, to be fair, saw one there. That is as good as. And then we are seeing the shadows that I didn't want to see here. That candle very quickly negated that candle. Look at that. And then this is, I think actually it's very constructive or instructive also to be here today, because I think today's kind of your last straw. If you wanted to, there's a little level here that you could wait for a close beneath. But I don't think we need to, because we kind of said, well, 2/3 at a close beneath there. We actually didn't get it. So today's the day if we actually extend that across from our prior analysis. Today really is the day. And I think much the same as the last one, pure coincidence that Mick's got both of them. But we're seeing this sort of last peak here, last point of supply, point of supply here. And obviously the main point of supply here, the major point of supply. And I think we're done here, aren't we? So I'm going to go, for me, this one is 2/3 immediately. So get rid of that immediately. And then I might, because, it was such a great trend, I don't think you would though, speaking on your behalf, I don't think many of us would tolerate any more than that. But at most, let me say, we've got a third left. and that third is going to go on a close beneath there. Okay, so that's the final 1/3 on a close below, if you were that way inclined, if you wanted to give it any more room. Okay, thanks for those three, Mick. I think really interesting case studies. Let's go to Lynn. Lynn's asking about SRL, which is looking okay. There's a few candles at the end there that are slightly problematic. I also note that big signal there. I'm going to put to you that we actually can't be holding a full risk position here for a couple of reasons. Not the first time at $2, so I was going to say $2 is the critical level there, big round number, but not our first rodeo at $2. But if it was, it's not. But I didn't know that when this thought popped into my head. But that candle at $2 is concerning for me. And if it was a first time here, we would do not pass go, do not collect $200 would be automatically out there. I know that's a signal, but when I put them in the chart watch, I'm not doing reward to risk or round numbers. That's your job. I'm just doing that's a signal. And then we get the lower peak here, and peeled away without much demand side interaction, have we? Yeah, a little bit concerning for me. I think I'm quite happy here to just take a little bit of risk off the table. So I would say for me, and this is just what I would do, I think I'd go minus a third, just upon what I can see on that candle. Okay, and the reason why is I'm concerned about that candle. It's massive. And so we've got that one. Above average volume. Above average, not huge, but above average, and a big black range, and then the lower peak here. That's the second thing I'm concerned about. Okay, and then just very little demand side interaction. I think there's enough there, enough evidence for me to go minus 1/3. That still means that we're still plus 2/3 RP. And other boundaries, I guess, that we could look at. If hopefully it goes straight back up. That's it. There's no question about it. Don't have to worry about anything else. We don't have a lot, do we? We don't have a lot in terms of previous peaks and troughs. We certainly have this level here. So this old point of supply, we know that we want to see troughs at or above their second from last points of supply. So that point of supply, I think, is important. Would want to see a big black candle close beneath there, and I certainly don't want to see a close beneath the short-term trend ribbon. That would require a manage risk. So I'll just put, manage risk, and then manage risk at these levels here. Just keep in mind. But at the moment, I think you're still 2/3 on that one. So just some pressure points there until we catch up next time. We can ask the question again as to where we might manage some risk. Let's go to Craig's got COD, which is an interesting one. First shot across the bow here. Obviously massive range, massive volume. There's some interest. That's how changes of trend start. Okay, you go back to any of them. One of the recent ones is CRS. That's how they start. Okay, and for Mick, who had the one that shot up and then had the few black days, I mean, they can take some time to work through, right? And I'm just using an example. That's just one that popped into my head. What was the other one? We've seen something like DTR. That's how they start. They start with massive volume and massive volatility. That's the secret, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't they teach that to you in fundamental analysis school? That's how they all start. So if we go back to, what was this one called? Because let's face it, there's about 1,000 of these things on the ASX, and they're all just as shit as each other until they're not. So this one, it's a start. Now, today's candle's not ideal, but it's not a deal breaker in the scheme of things. But there are going to be some people who, let's face it, have literally, and I call this waiting to die. And we've all been here. We've all just been waiting to die, right? We got in. Look at this thing. What a piece of junk. All right, so, and that doesn't mean I can't trade it. I don't care if it's a piece of junk, but it's a piece of junk. I mean, let's face it, they've probably issued shares upon shares upon shares, and the directors are just... Anyway, we all know these types of companies, right? So I don't know, somebody got in here, whatever, and they're holding it, they check it every day, and they, in their stocks app, it's down another 0.5%. Oh, shit. 6 months later, they're still checking it on the stocks app diligently. It's down another 0.5% on that day as well. Anyway, you're down 85%, and you're just waiting for any sign of this thing to show any sign of life to get the frick out. And just not as bad as what you thought it was going to be. Because you thought it was going to be zero, or you're going to hold it forever. And some people are going to think like that. You don't think like that anymore, but there are still people out there who think like that. So they see that big pop up, and all they want to do is sell. It was 8 cents, now it's 12 cents, 50% gain in a few days. That's good enough for them. They're out of there, and they will never trade Coda Minerals again. Okay, they've learnt their lesson. Of course, in 6 weeks' time, when it's pumping, they'll be back on board, kicking themselves for getting out. But we know better. We know that they all start this way, right? They all start this way. So we know it's got to work through a bit of supply now. There's a little bit of a supply overhang from that latent supply, that waiting to die supply. And we're just going to keep an eye on it. And we're waiting for a dink. We're waiting for an improvement in price action. We're waiting for candles to tell us that we've worked through that supply, and the demand that caused this and the interest that caused this is pushing it back on again. It's on the right chat rooms. The right sorts of noises and rumours are happening around this, whether they're real or just as bullshit as they were last time. It doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. I can hold this. I can't buy it. But if you saw it pop up on ASX, my ASX scans list in the next 2 weeks, neither would you be very surprised. That is Craig done there. So Craig's got 1/3 question mark. Well, that's up to you, Craig. I'm a not yet, but certainly it's something that could progress that way. All right, let's do your online requests, everybody. Adonis has got thoughts on US stocks. We'll do those at the end. Peter has got BC8, which I think actually looks very good today. Of course, we know that gold stocks are starting to move again. This one did very well, I think, during this phase here. Well, it wasn't that clean, was it? But a clean move today. And I don't know if you noticed, we talked about volume, we talked about volatility, and we talked about how things get started. And this is, even for bigger ones, this is still how they get started. So what we're seeing there is supply removal. I know a crap load of supply got taken out of the market. They were in stock, and they were removed today. Okay, a crap load of demand. Cash was required to come in to remove them. And the good news is that all of those people that got out today, guess what they've got? They had shares, and now they've got cash. And they're looking at this chart, and they know the stock. That's the thing. We've all felt like this. We know the stock, but now we're out. And it's going up. And they're just latent supply now. That's the way I look at it. They are just latent supply. They're going to help fuel that next move through 110 as they buy back in. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have got out there. But for them, it was a relief. Like, the price moved, it went up. It's that great release, isn't it? Peter's laughing now, but, I'm sure Peter wasn't laughing the 50 other times he was part of that equation, much like I was, and we've all been there. But now Peter's crying. But it's, at the end of the day, we're just seeing a chart, aren't we, of human behaviour. And it's good. It's good if you've been there and done it, because then you know not to be part of that next time. Long story short, because I think I should just talk about candlesticks and price action and trends, which are all very good. We've obviously got double greens there. We have the most incredible candle today. Gap and run, really, isn't it? Close on the high, close at $1 as well. So no fear of that number anymore. And you'll probably find that really it was $1 that kind of helped put a pause on this one in itself before, particularly if it spent some time at 50 cents, which it did. And massive interaction there between demand and supply. So I'm plus 1/3 on this. This actually made feature chart today. So FRP, if you've got it, obviously plus 1/3. Let's go to Pete's next one. Now, Pete's very diversified, isn't he, in what he's looking at, because he's looking at all gold stocks, CMM, which probably looks, I think it looks better than the other one because it's obviously making that new high. Just go to the weekly chart, and it's blue sky as well, so there's less in the way of this one. Maybe where it's not as good is, obviously it's got the volatility, but not as much of a volume push. They're above average though, don't get me wrong, still fine, still meets all my criteria. So definitely some interaction, some interest, and supply removal there, so that's all good. So very high quality setup here. I'm happy with that one. Plus, let's just do FRP first. That goes standard, and then plus 1/3 if I had to pick between the two. Well, let's get to the end of your list because we're going to see some very similar charts here. Why are they all the same? Well, because the whole sector moved today. This one here, I did in the end. I think I made it a feature. Let me double check. I did, but it almost didn't become a feature just because, and I know it sounds a bit silly, but I still give these black marks because I don't like the fact that they occurred. But that might have been earnings related. I can't remember. But even still, I just don't like big black candles. And then I look at that and I look at that, and I feel that this is going to be a pretty decent point of supply to contend with, where maybe with the first one it's a bit further away, and with the second one it's obviously not there anymore. But it didn't look like there was any issues. Again, a big run number. They're at 5, closed on there, on the knocker, no problems. So in the end, I think I went sort of balanced probability. We've got some supply removal, great volatility, gap and run, incredible candle. So yeah, balance of probabilities. I did make it a feature in the end. Whether it's FRP is no question. Whether it's plus 1/3 is no question. It's still definitely an ad risk proposition for me. But again, we're obviously trying to compare and contrast some of these other setups. But yeah, definitely very strong, and we're not going there. I don't know what that's Gladiator. Well, let's look at that one. That was just an errant click as I was going back to click on the next one. What do we say about how they all start? Worth keeping an eye on. That's a uranium stock, if I'm not mistaken. I digress. Let's get back to RXL, which is also on the list today. Last time we looked at it, we said FRP plus 1/3, and I think all I need to do then is go copy paste, and put that there because obviously, obviously. Definitely some interest and some interaction going on here. So that is a very, very solid setup as well. Hopefully a few people doing well on that one. And KAU, yeah, there we go. Got all of those ones are in the list. Did I feature this one? I didn't feature that one. So that's the only one I didn't feature. Definitely RXL, you can see got featured. But KAU didn't, and it was only because it certainly made the broader list, but I still see that as being very, very flat. That's all. It's still very, very flat, but definitely made the list, so therefore FRP without question, and also plus 1/3 if you have a particular affinity with this stock, you know something about it or whatever, you prefer it for some reason. No objections, adding risk there from me. Let's go to DBO. Thank you, Peter, for those. Oh, looking good. Hopefully you're doing well. From Al has got Diablo Resources. Again, we talked about how they start. No coincidence. That's how this one started. It's a little bit wobbly since then, but sort of trending in the right direction. It's a bit choppy, isn't it? It's a little bit all over the place. It's not clean. I'm not getting that feeling of just that clean, nice price action in candles. So we're seeing, I guess, that it's gone up, I need to sell, is kind of continuing, I think, to nag this one, or nag away at it, and frustrate the demand side, and maybe just limit the upside on it for the time being. There's also, and I know that's a wild candle, possibly even dirty data, a little bit of supply potentially in and around that level. But for me, yeah, look, it's not as clean or as interesting as some of the other charts we've seen, but I'm guessing you're asking about it because you're probably on it. So I can go FRP. I don't think I'm adding any risk at this stage, but if I saw a decent candle, then I could do that. Yeah, I mean, it would need to close, I think, close to that high. So that high there is 3.9. So order of magnitude sort of 3.7 or better, you know. So let's we can even write that on. And I'd say next demand side candle, closing 3.7 or better, then I could go plus 1/3. But until I see that, happy happy just to stick with it. CEL I think is going to look a little bit better, and it is not a great day today, but nothing too sinister going on here, I think. And it's just one of those fairly sketchy ones. It's just going to do its little blips and blobs there up the screen. Just checking for any major points of supply. Look, there's going to be a few here. There's probably something in there, but that's miles away, so I'm not even worried about that. So look, I can hold it. Don't think we need to add any risk today, but again, I could if it was to give me a nice demand side candle here, because all the other trends in the price action are still very, very good. So no complaints from me there. NVU I suspect will be very similar. It's a full risk position, as I think we said last week. Next demand side candle, as we said last week. Today's candle isn't ideal. The broader market wasn't fantastic. It's not a gold stock or a silver stock, as far as I know. Not with a name like that, I'm guessing. I don't think anything too sinister happened today. Happy to go with that again. Full risk position, plus 1/3 on the next demand side candle. Let's go to David. Thoughts on PME? I think PME's got some problems. Okay, almost blasphemy, isn't it? Blasphemy, isn't it, for a stock that's done so well over time? But I think we do have some problems here, and I think we've got a very clear-cut line in the sand for ZRP, because I don't think we could be FRP at this stage. And I'll point out to you exactly where that'll be, but let me first just write on here, ZRP, close below. I think that is pretty clear-cut. I shouldn't need to explain why that's the case. Where would we have taken some risk off the table prior to that? Probably that day. Not knowing what's coming next. Lower peaks are in the system, close beneath the short-term trend ribbon. On that day itself, we had an amber reading. It's just getting very slow. So I think for me, that's a minus 1/3. This day is starting to get a bit sketchy. Look, there probably isn't another signal apart from that, because this candle here is such a monster. Okay, that is just the absolute dominant candle there. And I think until you're close beneath that, you actually don't need to do a whole lot else, assuming no similar black candle appears after it. But let us all agree that these are not strong indications. But I think you just have to wait for that. So I think we're 2/3 risk position and ZRP beneath that. The 2/3 will go there. That's my view. Ford, I think nothing contradicts that in your comments there. 4DX I still think is fine. When the price is way above the short-term trend ribbon and the point of supply is at 61. So not sure, David, if you're in this or thinking of getting in it. Last time we talked about it was here. We said FRP plus 1/3. I know on this day here I ran it as another feature trade, but then it just gapped here. You would have had to make that decision where you got in on the open. I don't know. It's up to you. But happy holder if you did. In fact, I ran this again today as a feature chart, as in one of my strongest setups for tomorrow. Your comment regarding previous points of supply. Well, there's a big range here, isn't it? But is that the whole range? Let's just draw it so I can see where it kicks in. So we're kind of in a range now. But there wasn't a lot of trepidation shown. A small upward pointing shadow today, in keeping, I think, with exactly what we'd expect there. But this gap here is part of the candle, don't forget. Okay, this gap here is part of the candle. There's a big white candle. And when we incorporate that gap, the close is, on a percentage basis, is very, very close to the high. It's not if you forget the gap, but it is if you put the gap in. So I'm a happy holder here. I'm FRP. I think it did really well today at that point of supply. I could even add risk just on the strength of that candle alone, and look at the volume and look at the volatility. So I'm happy with it. Scroll down. I can't see if David's catching up to let me know if he's in it or not, but I think that answers the question anyway, doesn't it? Can't be any more clearer than that. FRP plus 1/3. Robert's got ILT, which is Iltani Resources. I haven't heard of this one, but it seems we've done some work on it. FRP plus 1/3 on that day. That didn't turn out too good, did it? Yes, saw its shadow, so to speak. No pun intended, but saw its shadow here at this point of supply, and we saw the latent supply there having an impact on the system. Look, hey, there's some volatility, there's some volume there, there's something going on. I could hold. I'm not even going to type on the screen because this is so far away from what I like to trade at this point in time. But keep an eye on it. LKY, when to take a third off the table. So let's have a look here. Did they do a capital raise? I can't remember. Was it DTR did a capital raise? Somebody did a capital raise recently, as is sometimes the case when stocks go up. Tricky because this area here should act as demand now, and it somewhat is. Let me move this just so I can see what candle's under that. So it's pretty benign, and then it's just gone pop, pop. Look, I think it's okay. Yeah, it's tricky. I don't really have an answer because there's no troughs. There's no typical sort of troughs. These candles aren't that clear. Look, there's a lower shadow there. That's nothing in the context of this candle here. So discount that, and then that does slip this, but tries to hold on to here. And then today's really a nothing candle, but certainly finishes on the supply side of the equation. So it's a little bit up in the air. I think I'm still FRP, but obviously closer to managing risk than adding risk. That goes without saying. And let me just summarise by saying, look, if you're really, really jittery, well, for me, it's order of magnitude 1/3 off the table, no more than that. If you're not that jittery, then I think just hanging in there and obviously waiting for more signs. Like I said, we really shouldn't be closing beneath that shadow now because that's where the demand started to come back in here and here. We don't want to be beneath there. So I can certainly say that close beneath there would be managed risk. So close less than would be managed risk, whatever you wanted to do with a third or 2/3. But I think I'm still more inclined to keep some on the table just on the basis of that and that. Were there any indications from round numbers? No, there weren't. It's just one of those things. It's just losing a bit of steam. But as we've seen in the past, they can do that and then pop in that low and then build up this story again. So just to summarise there, I have given you a point where I think you can do whatever you want, but where I would start to manage risk. Let's go to SQG, which is heading in the right direction. It's not that one there. I'll try that again. I've got the G, but not the Q. And I got the Q and the G, but not the S. SQG. It's St George Mining, SGQ. Okay, there we go. SGQ, which is what you have. I apologise. So this one, no problems here. Last time we looked at it, we said FRP plus 1/3, higher trough next to demand side candle. I think we can just go get rid of those two and just stick with that. FRP plus 1/3. Pretty sure I ran this on the feature list today. Is there anything here that I need to be worried about? A little level through here. Possibly some supply to come in there, but it's not a massive level. I mean, this is a massive level here. This is just a reaction. So I think we're okay. Is it the strongest out of all of the ones we've seen? No, I don't think so, because the price action is not as clean as some of the other ones, but it's still very good. Okay, MM8 from Roscoe. I always forget to do this because we are at 8 o'clock. David's saying he is in that one there. And I can't remember what it is now, David. What was it? 4DX. Okay, well that's good news then, isn't it? Because it's going gangbusters. Medallion Metals. Last time we looked at it, what did we say? FRP plus 130 if you saw a big white candle like that. Well, that's handy. Was we can delete that now and just put that there and copy and paste that and put that there because that's how I feel about it now. Medallion Metals. I don't need to talk about it because it's doing everything I think we want it to do. Happy holder FRP plus 1/3. BCA, which is boringly good. I love it when they just sort of just tickle higher like that. 50 cents. Oh, that's a decent. That is a decent level there, isn't it? I'd be look, just caution. I'm not saying we're going to do anything yet, but it makes a lot of sense to spend some time here at 50. So just keep an eye. We don't want to see any really nasty candles in there, but so far it's looking very strong. As in, there doesn't seem to be a great deal of evidence that it's causing any problems. So let's just do that. FRP plus 1/3 on the next demand side candle. Happy holder in the meantime. It is an interesting level. Roscoe. Amber saying, can we look at SIG, which still looks very strong, but only because it's not the right one. He's the right one. Zoom normal. Happy with that. It's just restarted the trend. It hasn't done anything really much for the last few days, but that's okay. The market hasn't been that fantastic for the last few days, but I think we've kick-started this new trend. So happy to stick with it. You can see we've got 4 days now of outperforming the market, plus 1/3 on the next demand side candle. I need to clarify that because that last candle isn't sufficient. Next demand side candle, please. Nice white body, full body, downward pointing shadow, and then I'm happy to go. But in the meantime, there's nothing in there that's worrying me at all. LOT is interesting, just popped above, had some news today. I think they sealed their first drum of yellow cake and sent it off to market. So maybe they're getting a little bit of a boost out of that and a little bit of boost from the uranium chart turning higher that we saw before. But still, I think early days here for what I like to see. And I just say, look, just be cautious about how this one behaves. Look, the leopard can change its spots, but let's look at how it's going to do it, And here I've just taken you back in time, Amber Jane, and that could be today, couldn't it, for Lotus Resources? And I bet you didn't know that, but this is the nature of the beast. Okay, so what is required for it now? Because I'm going to put to you, it is exactly. That's today, yes or no? All right, that's today, right? It's it's freaking identical. When was this? 1st of August 2023. Let's go here. It's going to stuff around. The short-term trend is going to turn up. It's going to start to support the price. It's going to cushion the price. The price is going to trampoline off that short-term trend. The long-term trend has turned amber. The long-term trend is starting to support the price as well. We're seeing some tentative interactions with previous points of supply, probing those points of supply, starting hopefully to remove some of the latent supply that is stuck in the market at those levels. So starting to interact with that first one. Not doing very well interacting with the first one because the supply came out there. The demand has to take some time to clear it out. Demand strong, volume, look at that, significantly above average volume and above average volatility. Peaks and troughs are now rising. I think we've got a predominance of white candles. The short-term trend is clearly up now, and it is definitely supporting the price action. We've taken out a clear point of supply from the past. So, that's when I'm starting to want to interact with it, okay, around that 22 to 24 cent mark. And even then, it's not easy, is it? Look at that. Gosh. And I'm just going to fast forward here because I know it does go up. But how hard is it to go up? Look at that FRP on that day. Well, FRP is right on that day, but then ZRP on that day, isn't it? That's how the model works. Like, that is exactly how the model works. There you go. I could not have had a better label in the system. That day is FRP. That day is ZRP. How's that, ladies and gentlemen? I rest my case. That's where I just started to draw it. And then let's fast forward to today. How similar is it? And I've just shown you the future of this stock. All right, zero risk position for me at this stage. Sometimes you've got to say, look, do I want life to be hard or do I want life to be easy? And I think that's an example of where life could get hard. See, I'm going to go ditto on Paladin. There's just not enough. I just went through all of the things that I like to see in a turnaround setup. We don't have enough of them yet. We have some of them, and that's good news. Like, we're just getting a little inkling here. Have we seen that short-term trend ribbon is acting as dynamic demand? No, we haven't. We're back above the long-term trend ribbon. That's great news. It's turned amber. That's great news. Is it really sort of acting as that area of dynamic demand? No, it hasn't. The price action is starting to look really good, so that's a big tick. And I think the candles are predominantly white, so that's a big tick. So lots of stuff started to go the right way, but I think I need a little bit more going for it on that one as well. But yeah, look, there's a start there. NST, more than a start here. We've seen so many gold stocks today. I mean, this one definitely made the broader list. Minus 2/3 on that day. Too much damage done. I think the market kind of answered our questions. Funny some of these things are right in the past. I could go plus 1/3 on this. FRP if you've got it. Because I do think it is turning back around. We're starting to see price action, trends, dynamic demand doing all the right thing. Is this as strong as some of those other gold stocks that I've seen? I don't believe so. It is more of one of those sort of turnaround continuation setups. You might go for it on the basis that it's sort of a different kind of setup to some of the other ones we've seen, and sometimes that's useful. But yes, I can add risk on it if I was that way inclined, but I would also suggest that we have seen some stronger setups out there in the gold space. Okay, Perry's got 3 for us in ASX land DVL, which is also in tonight's feature list. You can see here, and it is just sheer perfection, isn't it? You cannot fault this in terms of price action trends. There's some interaction there, some interest and some volume and volatility coming out as well. So certainly FRP plus 1/3 for me. That one's nice and easy. Let's go to Perry's second one, which is just as easy for me to do. This is the key candle here. That's the one that gets our interest. The very, very shallow pullback. Neither of these candles were that great, though, to get going again, were they? Which is a shame. Certainly that one there is a signal, and this one just confirming. And look, we're on a path to $1 here. I wonder if it's the first time we've been there. It kind of is in many ways, because that's all we can see. And this is, I don't know, probably some sort of reconstruction here or backdoor listing. So I'm going to say treat this interaction with $1 as a round number. But in the meantime, certainly FRP, and if you can make it work in terms of reward risk plus 1/3, no complaints from me on that one. Let me just move that back here, and I think we get rid of those now. We don't need them. And we'll save that for next time. And then the third one here from Perry is similar, WGX, which is also doing very well. That is blue sky from there. Just very clean through here. The old zone of supply. In theory now, we expect it to act as a zone of demand going forward. Huge candle. Probably not the same volume confirmation potentially on some of the other ones, but I suspect it's what we can see. There's an average amount of demand cleaning out, an average amount of supply. It's just that the demand side is very motivated. They're having to bid up that price. So FRP plus 1/3 here. No complaints. And LOT, who's asking about that one? I don't think so yet. It's still too early for me. I want to see a little bit more. And I'm sure there are some turnaround setups there that are probably closer than that. Not that they're in my head right now. What's the criteria used to filter the daily uptrends? Can it be replicated in TradingView? Pretty simple. It's no downtrends basically. So if it's not a downtrend, then it kind of is open to interpretation. So not pink, and you can do not things as well. You can search for stuff, or you can search for not stuff. Not pink, green, light green. So not pink, light green. I have a turnover filter. I'm just trying to remember some of the things in that scan. And yeah, I don't want to open it because it'll show the code, and I don't really want to do that. But yeah, it's a very broad scan to start off with, because I don't mind flicking through. It could be 200 charts on a heavy day, because I can get through those very, very quickly because I'm a fraction of a second per chart. And then I spend a bit more time on the short list, but not that much time. And then the final list is where I spend the most time. So we're spending a little bit of time on a large group, and then an increasing amount of time on an increasingly smaller group. Leave that thought with me, and I'll get back to you with anything that might be more specific next week. Adonis has got a link for me to go. Excellent listening on trading attitude. Okay, well, he's sharing that. I'll check that out during the week. Adonis, thank you. Great channel, Adonis. Been listening to the videos the last few days. They're talking to each other. That's fine. Full risk from Nicola. Thank you for responding. Nicola, because nobody else did. And then we had a few people responding to a different question. Thank you for responding. Appreciate that, everybody. And I think we might have been talking about T&E. And that was a tricky one. Sure as hell, if it's out, but we know Michael, unfortunately, feeling like he's on the wrong side of things now. Okay, let's pick up where we left off. We're not far away from heading back up the list, as in we're just 2 or 3 away. And I'm going to pick up the pace, okay, because there's still a lot of very general requests here, because I know I haven't reminded everybody for a while, but it would be great if you give me stuff, let's face it, that is meeting at least half of my criteria. Is that fair to say? Because when you give me stuff that's like, it's not really there, we're kind of all wasting each other's time. I know we end up talking about the same stuff, but also, yeah, things are going to run a bit smoother. That's all. But I don't mind. I have entertained them, and I'll tell you when something's really, really of zero interest to me. But let's just try and tighten them up a little bit. Tell me the setup, Carl, because there's a lot of stuff like, and it's just on screen, so I'm going to use this one, LOT. Say LOT, Carl, turnaround setup, awaiting this, and this. And what that does is it shows me that you're actually learning the setups, because what I'm trying to do here, I don't know if you've noticed, is I'm trying to teach you the setups, and I'm assuming every week that we come in with zero knowledge, out of respect for people that are always coming aboard and just people that just want to hear it again. But show me that you're learning stuff. And I don't want to use this word, but don't disrespect the process by just being lazy and giving me a 3-letter ASX code and then letting me do all the work. Because I assure you, I can do the work. I know my system. That's not why I tune in Monday nights, if you get what I mean. If you just want to know about any crappy little mining stock in your portfolio, then find somewhere else maybe to air that. But if you want to learn the system and get better at it, it's not just learning, it's improving your ability to execute this system. Make the most of this short time that we have together, because if we're just talking about silly little mining stocks that are doing nothing, maybe we're losing valuable time in that regard. Is that okay? I don't want to be the big bad wolf here, but I think that's what we need to do. Okay, with that in mind, let's pick up the pace a little bit and get finished, so we can all get to bed at a reasonable time. So I have to do my Duolingo. So Southern Cross Gold, a fairly new chart. Always interesting when they're fairly new. And I can trade these. I don't need the long-term trend group. I'm happy to go off price action and short-term trends. Look, it's starting to pick up a little bit. Again, you know, two three-letter codes and thoughts, please. So not a lot of thought was gone into asking this question. I'm going to leave it at that. I can see some developing trends here. Let's see an improvement in the price action and the candles, and then it's going to start to look quite interesting. But maybe we can come back to that when those things occur. Another person asking about LOT. I don't know what happened today apart from the news. Maybe that's sparked people's interest. I know uranium's moving, but it's interesting to see that got so much of attention. I'm going to Sue, who's got GDG, and she's asking about taking some risk off the table, which I'm in the wrong place. Sorry, Sue, GDG. And yeah, I mean, I think this is a valid question because is it fair to say we're all going to have charts that at some point look like this? We're doing very well, and then we get to the end and we've got a couple of really scary candles that we want to know how to deal with, right? So how do we deal with these candles? I'm with you, Sue. I don't like this one. That worries me. Why is it so black? Why is it so nasty? Above average volume today, not you know, like a huge volume signal, but certainly enough to catch my attention and worry me. So given I'm clearly so worried about it, it's not just that though, it's that shadow there. So it's this shadow. $7 is nothing in particular. I'm not too stressed out about that. So I'm not going to qualify that as a round number. 10, that's interesting. 7, nobody's, you know, please God, let GDG go to $7. No, it's not happening. It's a coincidence that we're seeing it happen around there. But that shadow is the first shot across the bow, and this black candle confirms it. And what are we talking about here? Type plus, I didn't mean that. I think that's the order of magnitude what we're discussing, okay? And then, and this is the stuff I do enjoy talking about, everybody, is tradecraft. Okay, then what do we need to do? First shot across the bow, up to this point, things have been going swimmingly. We haven't anything to worry about. Literally nothing. Like nothing is bad in there. That's all good. And we need to set some boundaries now for this trade. So we say, okay, well, I know that's a let's call this a pretty decent, right, point of demand. That's where the demand was in the past. And you know, should we close below here? What does that mean for the demand that was in the system? We have to assume it's gone, right? So we don't want it to be down there. So for me, that's where we start to say we'll close beneath there. And or are we minus a third? Are we zero? I think we're ZRP, aren't we? Because I saw minus a third because of this point of demand, but now we're beneath the light green ribbon as well. We don't want to do that. So I think because there's lots of other, it's a bull market, lots of other interesting stuff around. For me, a third now, don't ask questions, do not pass go, do not collect $200, and then close beneath there will be ZRP. So tradecraft, understanding where we set those boundaries for ourselves and for the stock in question. Let's go to 4DX. Actually, we've done that. I've covered that really well. What we probably didn't talk about for 4DX was, again, that tradecraft. Where am I going to start to be concerned? Ideally, I don't see it closing back beneath there. If it just did it with a bunch of little candles, less stressed. If it does it with a big black candle coming in tomorrow, really stressed out, okay? A total deal breaker. I don't think it's going to happen, but again, just about putting some boundaries on these things so we know where we are going to manage our risk. BGA is actually looking very good. I'm pretty sure it made the broader list today. In fact, I'm quite certain it did. I don't think I put it in as a feature chart though, just because it's just starting to creep into a bit of a supply zone there that might make life a little hard for it, but it's approaching it with plenty of confidence. So I'm on the side of adding risk, certainly not thinking about reducing risk in any way, shape or form. So it's definitely an FRP. If you're that way inclined for whatever reason, you've got a hankering for some Bega, then I could add some risk. But I do think there are stronger setups out there. Okay. Why are we down 85%? I don't know. Somebody's down 85%, and Perry's asking why, which you really shouldn't be in a position where you are down 85%. I think maybe I said that figuratively speaking, but some people do get themselves into that position, Perry, and I certainly empathise with them because I've been there many, many times in the past. It is not a good feeling, and it is hard to change your mindset from that position, but we must. Anson Resources. I'm going to put this one in the basket of Neil's asked for a 3-letter code and nothing else. And I can't see anything in there that makes me want to own it. So I'm going to keep moving, Neil. And you know my thoughts on what I'm encouraging you to give me next time. Let's go to MTH, which is... this is also just a 3-letter code with no other comment next to it, but I'm going to let Jackie off the hook because Jackie, I think, is pointing out to me maybe one we haven't done today, but she knows is going to have me writing FRP plus 1/3 next to it. And I do think this is a nice setup. Yes, there's a little bit of supply up here, but geez, it's a very strong move. Nice base pattern, good push there, some interest coming in, and I think it made feature chart tonight, didn't it? Yes, it did make feature chart, so we're okay there. FRP plus 1/3, RMS, which I'm pretty sure is in the broader list today. Definitely in the broader list, obviously breaking out to a new high. Nonetheless, that's not the right phrase, isn't it? Nonetheless, furthermore, and happy holder there. Little shadow at the top. You could add risk, yeah, but in terms of just that last candle, that final flourish, probably a few other gold stocks that showed a little bit more intent today, but very strong candle. There is a gap there as well. I am considering that. AZY also made the broader list today. Gee, we've done some work on that one. If you permit me, I'm going to delete all of that. Just that's so much better. FRP, yes, definitely. Plus 1/3, yes, definitely. And I like this one because it's a ways away from its major point of supply, so plenty of room in terms of the reward to risk. It's an interesting little turnaround continuation setup. Yeah, not bad. I mean, average volume today, maybe could have had a little bit more volume, but I still think it's a very, very sound setup, incredible setup, and deserves a look as well, AZY. And it's look, the easy part is finding setups today, isn't it? The hard part is working out which ones of those to go. And this is in the category of also making the broader list, plus 1/3. But I don't think this is the strongest setup out there. Moderate interest. Okay, we want to see some significant interest coming in on these breakouts, pushing into supply, removing that supply. Yes, there's an uptrend, but it is fairly gradual. Yes, the short-term uptrend represents supporting price, but it is very gradual. And look, it's. Don't get me wrong. If I had it, I'm a holder. If I didn't have it, and it was the only thing to look at today, this is the one getting my risk, if you get what I mean. And like I said, in those lists, I deal in setups, and it is a valid setup. Did it make my feature list tonight? No, it didn't. Oh, deep breath. How am I going? SKS, it seems like it's a never-ending list tonight. I don't mean that because this is tedious, but I think people are continuing to put stuff in. Please stop putting stuff in so I can get to the end of the list. This is fine. I've got no issues with this. There's some very, very benign candles coming in there. Zero volume, zero really pushback there from the supply side. A little bit of a demand side apathy over in a market that is apathetic. So I think, as I said, fairly benign FRP plus 1/3 on the next demand side candle only, but happy holder in the meantime on a very strong trend SKS. Let's go to B4P. Holy moly, B4P. I'm going to get to the end of this list. If you've got it, it's still okay, isn't it? I mean, this is the dominant candle here. Well, it's there. And actually, I think we could go up from that one and use this now. It's almost, is it fair to say we're getting close to, two words come into mind here, time stop. Yeah, maybe on this one, just a bit of a time stop. It's looking a bit difficult, isn't it? We've clearly got supply in the system. Yes, there's some demand in the system, but it's just zigzagging in this range. I don't know. Let me highlight that. I'm not so sure. I can't see any obvious reason to sell it right now, but I'm also not jumping at the bit to add any risk just yet. This is a tricky one, and when things are kind of working their way into equilibrium, you have to expect as a trend follower, I'm not going to have a definitive word for you. I can see a path to FRP, but not much else at this point in time. If I had it, I could hold it because there's nothing so awful there that's telling me to get out, but there's similarly nothing so brilliant there making me want to add risk at this stage. Let's go to WBT, which is, I think, okay. It's just sort of, vibrating in and around that short-term trend ribbon. Had a little bit of a bounce off it today. Ugly price action through here. It was promising. Don't get me wrong, Michael. I can see why you're frustrated. It was promising through here. 1, 2, 3, fairly, benign pullback, and then here pushing back off, and then it just threw this in at $3. And $3 was clearly, you can see here, $3 was clearly someone's number. Like $3 was where somebody said, "That's me, right? I'm checking out." Like they were literally waiting for that number to hit it, and they got it. How much supply have they got? And how much demand, I guess, is there to absorb it is the question. Another tricky one. I can still be here. The grip on it's growing more tenuous by the day. I think this shadow here, something beneath there, certainly beneath there, and I'm starting to, I guess, lick the wounds a little bit, cut the losses, but happy to give it another day or two. Hopefully we see just a straight out white candle, which just confirms that push off the green zone. It's done it before, or at the very worst, a little downward pointing shadow, just even if it's an equal close. That is a tricky one for me. Let's go to FRS, Forestania Resources, which I still think is okay. It is a little bit of a zigzag like the other one, but I don't think it's quite at that time stop just yet. We're still, I think, being influenced by candles, dominant candles like that and that, so I'm okay. I know there's this point of supply beneath that is very, very moderately concerning, but not enough to push me out of an FRP right now. I'm still happy to go at this stage, plus 1/3 on the next demand side candle if we see it, because overall everything else is still very much intact on this one. I don't mind that one. So exactly what you say there, Hayden, in your comments. IPX from Nicola, which I think is still looking good, no complaints. In fact, today is an add risk, and I don't remember this coming up in my scan list today, which is so weird because it should have. It's how did that not come up today? Unless I missed it, which is unlikely. FRP plus 1/3, I can add risk to that. That looks very strong. DYL did come up in the list today. FRP plus 1/3. Is that the strongest setup? It's not bad. Not bad. No complaints about that one. Yeah, it could have closed a little bit higher on the date. That's about it. But otherwise, no, that looks very solid. And SFR also came up today, and I definitely shortlisted it, but I didn't put it on the in the feature list. But one more strong demand side candle would get it into a feature, but it's just it's just ebb and flow, isn't it? Ebb and flow in a very solid uptrend. So for me, when that's the case, nice white candles like this are reasons to add risk. Little pullback, test, hold of this area here and that trend ribbon there. So I like those. FRP plus 1/3 if you're that way inclined. Love this! Exclamation mark, says Neil. So glad I found this content. Does anyone keep in touch outside of Monday night group chat? You guys can talk as much as you like. Without me, I don't care. No group chat that I'm aware of, says Peter. Nope. I bought. Look again. This is an unofficial channel, unofficial meeting place. I don't run a business of any kind or any sort. My day job is at Market Index, putting words together in the right order, and I literally do this for fun. It's something that began for many of you, as you remember, back in Think Markets days, where I just started doing these webinars out of the blue, and I think many of us enjoyed being there, that's all. But you can swap emails in here if you like. I don't care. So if you want to get in touch and start an investment club, start podcasting for all I care, okay? And sell your business for $30 million in 5 years' time, like Equity Mates. Knock yourselves out. Aren't those guys brilliant? Let us go to... I should have thought of that, shouldn't I, 5 years ago? Maybe I can start now. But let us go. I need to get to the end of this, ladies and gentlemen, because I am in big trouble about... after 8:30, local time, I'm going to turn into a pumpkin, if you get what I mean. And I'm pointing upstairs where I probably should be right now. MTH, 3 candles ago, is plus 1/3 again. Yes, it is, Jackie. On the back of your request for context, I know, don't give... Adonis, I appreciate your sentiment, but I don't want any context tonight at this time, okay? No context. I'll just do them. It's a win-win, says Dave. I'm not sure what that's about. Thanks very much for tonight, Carl. Have a good week. Michael's out of here. He's had enough. He needs to be on the couch. Hayden, you're a legend, Carl. Appreciate you and find this fun. Good. I'm glad. Thank you. And Robert also. That's it. No more questions. We're heading up the list to do US stocks and US stocks only. Unfortunately, I've got all this context now from Adonis. OSK, let's go. Oh, not there. Let's go here. Here, OSK. Oshkosh, that's the kids' clothing brand, if I'm not mistaken. Look, a great looking chart. Adonis, wonderful trends. A little bit of a pullback. What was Friday? Friday wasn't a great day, was it, for US stocks? So I think that's all very in keeping with what we'd expect. And yeah, look, I won't write it on the screen because I want to get the hell out of here. But FRP plus 1/3 on the next demand side candle. You've got a really solid looking trend there. Let's go to your next one, which is ABBV. ABV. Which I think looks better than the last one. That's a really nice looking chart. What I love about this one is look how it sort of pushed into that old major point of supply. And I think this is one we've looked at it a few times, haven't we, Donis? And I think I've probably said something like this, watch that point of supply, see how it goes there. And, it's actually come back really well from that. We expect to find supply there. And if you're going to find supply somewhere, that's as much as you want to find, right? So that's really good. Happy with that one. Full risk position if you've got it, and plus 1/3 if you're looking for risk. CVX, Chevron, it would be interesting for me to look at because I know the oil price isn't doing a whole lot. And that's okay. Look, it's trundling along, very similar to the last one, but before hitting the major point of supply. I'm happy to hold it and see how it goes at the point of supply because everything it's doing up to this point is looking good. So I could be a happy holder there. If I didn't own it, I don't know if I'd be adding risk here just on the basis of that point of supply is so darn close. And there's probably a few other setups that are, showing slightly more pressing need. But otherwise, no issues with that. Happy to hold it. And if you're really excited about it, happy to add risk. This one is a little bit more clear cut for me. I think this one's a bit early, and we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of supply to deal with, whereas Chevron's just got that one and it's dealt with quite a few. So if I had to pick between the two, I'd definitely go Chevron. This is not awful by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not it's just not doing enough for me. But yeah, as you say, it needs to, test, hold, but there's so many test holds it needs to do. So I'm leaning more towards a pass, whereas on the other ones, I'm more happy to add risk. Let us keep going up the list here to find out US stocks. I know Perry's got a few further up. I'm trying not to miss any in this huge number of comments tonight. And Perry, where's your US ones, Perry? I haven't seen them, and to save me from trying, I found them. No, the ASX ones. Do you not have any US ones tonight, Perry? I don't think I missed them. I just think they're not there tonight, which is unusual. There we go, found him. OR. Okay, well that's interesting. That's not your usual setup, and it's a turnaround setup. I think it's a little bit early. I think it needs a couple more candles. Another couple of little white candles, maybe pushing into 14. A nice little volume push should be good because we are trying to remove supply here. Certainly we've seen one here. Oh, well, that was on a down day. This is an odd one. Have I got the right one? OR. No, Perry's thumbs down. See, there you go. It kind of makes sense. It must be this one. There you go. Okay, that's a Perry chart. How good's that? And this is the thing about having a system, ladies and gentlemen, and being consistent with that system. You should be able to put something on, like one of my setups, if it's based upon my system, you should be able to put on the chart and go, okay, well, actually, no, that doesn't make sense. I think I've got a mistake, or you've made a mistake. And it was the case. This is a perfect chart, as usual. This is more like what I was expecting. Let's go to 1 week, and it looks amazing. I hope there are people out there taking some of Perry's trades because they are just fantastic. And I think Perry needs to start a podcast. He doesn't need me, that's for sure. Or maybe I can ride shotgun with him and just sit there in his shadow. This Echo Star, well, that's an interesting one in that candle. It's a massive candle. And, you have to query, like, can you buy? Can I buy? Can even, as much as I love big white candles, that's a massive candle. And I'm of the inclination that, like, first I go, is that real? This must be a takeover. Surely that's a takeover. Is it a takeover? Because that can't be earnings. You don't double in price on earnings. So it must be, is News Corp taking this over or something? I don't know. I'd have to Google it. But Echo Star. Do I go takeover? There is no active takeover. What happened? Involved in significant spectrum sale to AT&T for 23 being used to pay down debt. Oh, far out, man. That is figuratively and literally speaking off the charts. I don't know. I don't think apart from that, what was that stupid ASX one, that little one, KLR? I mean, that was bullshit, but this is real. This is a real company. That's probably, I think you show me a new one. That's the biggest, most whitest candle I think I've ever seen. Like, it's 100%. You see 10% candle, 15% candle, but 100% white candle. That's a knockout. I'd buy a few, like at $60. I'd buy 10 shares and just see how they go, right? 10 shares, $600. What's the worst that could happen, I guess? Just as an exercise in following my model, which is you don't get any more of a convincing consensus move than that. So, yep, okay. We'll keep an eye on that one. Let's go to Hecla Mining. At least I know what these guys do. It's a silver stock, obviously, with silver prices rising. We did look at it last week, and happy holder. It only looks better today than it does last week. There is a little bit of a point of supply up here, but I'm not too fussed about that because we're moving into it with such convincing price action. That actually was a weekly chart back then, so we're doing it a little bit back to front. That's the daily chart, looks fantastic. And then if we go back to the weekly chart, that's the point of supply that I'm really not fussed about. So happy holder there, plus 1/3. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is it for the night. That is a world record performance for us here in live market analysis. Let me remind you, if you're still awake, that the content of this presentation is general in nature. It does not take into account your personal financial circumstances or any of that stuff. So seek the help of somebody who's very, very smart and has a degree with half an alphabet after their name and is a financial professional to determine its appropriateness for you. Because, hey, what the hell would I know? Trading is risky, you could lose money. It's always you responsible for the stuff you do and not me. And on that cheery note, thanks for joining me tonight and thanks for sticking at it. As I said, if you want to swap details next week, or that's fine with me. Look, as long as you keep turning up, I'll keep doing them, I guess is the gist of it. So all the best for your trading. Until next time, bye-bye for now.